Serious, those who have been subject to or committed revenge P. How did it impact your life? Had an ex post 2 naked photos on Facebook. He deleted them like 10 minutes later. Honestly, it was a big deal for a while, but after a couple weeks everybody forget about it. Nobody really came after me for it. Everybody, though my ex was a dong for doing it. My ex was showing pictures he took of me to our friends for a while, and that kind of led them away from him. I know one of our friends was sent a video. He notified me and cut off contact with my ex. And that was it. I haven't had any issues with my ex in a while. My abusive relationship came to an end when I went to uni, and after weeks of harassment I ended up meeting a really wonderful guy. My ex found out because he was still on all my stuff and basically lost the plot. Released my nudes to all my new uni friends and even some people I didn't know. I was one of the lucky ones, however, because the guys that received them let me delete the unread messages myself. Not before screenshotting them and forwarding the evidence to the police. He ended up getting a really harsh sentence, and I can honestly say, the revenge P aspect of what happened didn't bother me because I got nothing but support and help from it and no ill effects. I know I'm one of the lucky ones though. My best friend of 15 plus years stole 2 nude photos of my wife from my phone. How he transferred them remains a mystery, but he then used these pictures to extort her for more. He used a texting app to make the number appear from somewhere else in the US. This was a horrible time for both my wife and I because threatened to post them on Facebook and on P websites. We immediately called the police and filled a report. As reluctant as that butthole cop was to explain it was a bad idea to take photos like that, he didn't take it seriously, but it ended up being smart move for us in the end. Only a few weeks had passed from the incident when my wife received a call from a detective. They caught the perp. He apparently did the same thing to another girl, and when the police asked him what they arrested him for, he sold himself out by saying, "For what I did to his wife?" No, they said, to this other girl, and the investigation was immediately opened because we filed that police report that night. Best friend ended up serving 1 year in jail. He was found guilty of sextortion. He is now a sex offender, and his electronic usage is being monitored. He has to adhere to a probational drug screen every month, all at the age of 24. His life is ruined. He will never get a real job, and worst of all, I lost my closest childhood friend in the process. I don't know if this counts as revenge P, but I was blackmailed in high school with my nudes. I moved around a lot as a kid and was pretty lonely. I made a friend online, through Omegle of all places, back when it was just text, no video, and I became really emotionally attached to him. He convinced me to take a bunch of provocative pictures and then he posted them on 4chan without my knowledge, pretending to be me. Someone I had gone to school with recognized me and put my name on the thread. They then started adding me on Facebook and posted my personal pictures and such on 4chan until I deleted all my social media. They threatened to send the pics to my family and post them all over my school. I was then harassed for months from random buttholes that tried to blackmail me into giving them videos and more nudes. They had a hard time figuring out what school was currently in though, so I knew they didn't really know me. I tried reporting them, but nothing ever came of it. I thought the whole thing had blown over until about a year later I was attending yet another high school. Yay, dysfunctional families. And had just started dating this guy. His friends started being really rude to me and I didn't know why. Until one day my BF asked me about the nudes and showed me that his friends had sent him. Apparently they were sharing them with all the guys in the school and calling me a yes. I told him the truth. He believed me and I stopped talking to pretty much everyone but him at school. I felt really ostracized. I didn't have a lot of friends to begin with, being a new senior. It really hurt me for a while. But looking back, they were just a bunch of dumb teenagers. It's been like 8 years now and it hasn't been an issue since. I don't care anymore. But when I was 17 I thought it was the end of the world. TLDR. Random internet strangers harassed 16-year-old me. IRL strangers tried to ruin my relationship. An ex of mine posted pictures of me when I was 14. He was 19. On Facebook. Tagged his friends. And sent them to my mum. It wasn't nudes, but it was lingerie and highly illegal if you lived in a decent country. I didn't. My mum didn't tell me she knew until way after it blew over and she didn't get very angry. I moved countries that summer. just 2 months after it happened, for unrelated reasons. It was really terrible. His friends were either making fun of me or calling him an idiot. I actually ended up talking to his mother to make him take them down. He also tried to blackmail me by asking for either $1,000 or a video of me masturbating. Not sure if this was revenge P, but I was young and stupid and sent some revealing pictures of myself to a guy I dated for like a week in high school. He sent it to his best friend, who in turn was best buddies with another one of my exes, and of course showed him as well. It was embarrassing, to be honest. And at that time, in the area where I live, exposed pages were getting quite popular. So girls who had sent nudes to guys were having them posted all over Facebook, and I was eventually also someone who had one of those pictures posted. At the time I felt like my life was over, but things just blew over on their own. I don't think it significantly impacted my life at all. I did get encouraging messages from people telling me they were here for me if needed, but other than the initial embarrassment I was fine. Man, I don't think this was a case of you being young and stupid so much as it was a case of him being a total tool. In some ways it helped. It was after getting out of an abusive relationship, and my ex was mad that I wouldn't hang out with him after breaking up. So he decided to threaten me with the photos. I told him he was bluffing and wouldn't do it. Usually that sort of thing was for his viewing only and he wouldn't share because of how possessive he is. But hey, I guess he could tell I was out for good. A month later I get all these messages on Facebook about the photos being posted. I decided to just tell my closest friends and family what was going on. Told his parents, managed to get the photos taken down because in one of them I was underage at the time. It helped in the sense that he had no longer had any sort of hold over me. That was the worst he could do, aside from physically harming me or anyone I'm close to. It brought a lot of relief for me. Every now and again I Google my name and see if they are back on another site, but I haven't found them in a long time. Happened twice when I was 15. Cried for days endless and had to delete all of my social media and start all over again. They never went out to my friends or family, or they haven't told me. An ex of mine likes to show my dong pics around her workplace. It's not big, but it's quite beautiful. She didn't know that she worked with a cousin of mine. Their HR department asked me if I wanted her fired after my cousin went to them. But I declined because she just bought a house and has a little girl, and I didn't want to ruin that for the little one. Whoa, good for you being the bigger person. Excuse the pun. I had a video shared when I was younger. I told myself that nudity isn't a big deal and tried to do the Jay-Z brush my shoulder thing. Interestingly, he got a bad reaction anytime he tried to share the video. People were disgusted with him. My experience was before social media, so I don't know what my reaction would have been now. If you were young, it sounds like the dude was trying to basically spread child pee, which is just dumb. I wouldn't be surprised at all that people were disgusted. I ended up a 12-year-old prostitute to pay for the heroin addiction I picked up from selling nudes to grown men, which was my stepdad's idea, but only after the failed OD attempt. The pimp was sourcing me out, vids, pics, calls, as well as, obviously, in-person visits. Was a working girl for 4 years. Recently moved back to my old working town and, well, I'll likely have to move cross country so my son is never exposed to the crap I did. Feels real bad, man. Could effectively say life ruined before it began. Imagine my surprise when I Google my old working name and the internet is utterly rife with CP. I mass reported everything, but very little was taken down. It's harrowing, to say the least. That was heartbreaking to read. Hope you are living your life your way now. I want to say I played it cool, but I was panicking the entire time while being blackmailed. I played dumb with her while I went through my entire friends list telling them the situation. It was awkward and sucked a lot, but I got through it. My ex posted multiple pics of mine once he realized I was leaving for good and not just being a bee. A different friend stumbled on them, informed me, and I was able to get a real savvy cop from the local PD record a confession of guilt. I spent 6 months hounding the district attorney to prosecute, only to have the bastard fail to show up to his arraignment. Later heard secondhand he attempted suicide over the impending misdemeanor. Finally tipped off the right PD to his location at the right time months later. Spent another 6 months going to every single hearing that kept getting postponed by his lawyer. A year after the first arraignment he finally wised up and took a plea deal the day before we were to go to trial. I still see him occasionally in passing at conventions even though I have a restraining order, but other than that not much has affected my life. I haven't been able to find the pics floating around and my life is much better without him in it. When I was in high school, cell phones were becoming a thing. A young girl, a new one to boot, decided to send some nudes. Somehow a different girl who was not a fan of the new girl got a hold of them. And we all know how fiercely jealous and cruel high schoolers can be. She quickly spread the new girl's nudes all over the place. She mass texted every single person in her contacts the nudes, me included. Knowing how much crap I could get in for even seeing this, I deleted it right away and kept my mouth shut. However, others didn't. The new girl actually took the blow in stride, seemingly not even affected by the fact that dozens of her peers had seen her boobs. The other girl now does M. Hooking your enemy on M. Best revenge. Got it? I almost got a taste of this when a fake Facebook account added me and messaged me. I accepted and started trying to troll them, but was hit back with a faked screenshot of a message I had sent saying things like I want to touch your PY and my mom doesn't know I'm a lesbian, etc. I was thoroughly freaked out and thought this might be a threat that they were going to send this to people. I locked myself down by changing my last name, profile pic, privacy and search settings, and made my Twitter and Insta private for a while. I had to report the account multiple times before it was removed. I'm on an anonymous image board that was really popular in my hometown a year or two ago, with some pictures from my FetLife account. I shouldn't be upset because I posted the pictures, but I never intended for my face and name to be attached to them. I get messages about them constantly from people trying to blackmail me, but this has been going on for so long and every person in my life knows has seen the pictures, so at this point I really couldn't care less if someone outed me and posted them. I'm a guy so I really didn't care, but was alerted that there are a few videos of me my ex from 7 years ago posted on Pornhub. Apparently a couple thousand people have watched me 69 her now. I just hope in the future nobody I'm dating becomes alerted to it. There are millions of individuals on there, so I'm really not anxious about it. I cried for about a week, got the police involved but they couldn't do much. Considered suicide because if my parents found out I'd be better off dead. The thing I found upsetting is that people were reblogging them on Tumblr and acting like they were hot and that I had consensual put it up there. Now have an irrational hatred of Tumblr and will never trust another man again. About 2 weeks ago my ex created a bunch of fake Facebook accounts using a nude photo of me as the profile pic. He then shared all of my public posts so that people could see the profile pic. I had to delete Facebook and called the cops. He has a warrant out for cybersexual harassment and stalking, but he lives in another state. I contacted the FBI because I was told it's a federal crime, but they weren't interested. So pretty much he got away with it unless he somehow comes to where I live and gets pulled over. Total balls. What's even more messed up is I left him because he tried to strangle me. He somehow hacked my Google account and knew where I was located. At the time I thought he came to my state to finish trying to kill me. The cops still have not done anything since he lives in a different state. I've since lost 2 boyfriends over it and live in absolute fear of him. Throwaway because I somehow got implicated in Revenge P because of my now ex-boyfriend. This guy had a sketchy past, a lot of which I didn't know and still don't. And to be honest I still don't know what happened in this situation or how I got involved with it. But anyway, the summer after my high school graduation, I received a really weird email from someone asking if I wanted to participate in an orgy during the first week of classes at the university I was going to attend. Being totally not into that sort of things, I declined. A month later, when I was at orientation for university, I started to receive random text messages from some number saying that he had a crush on me, wanting to know who it was. I played along and said a lot more than I should have before realizing that it was definitely not someone that I knew or wanted to be involved with. So I started ignoring him. The mystery texter decided that he was upset with me for not playing his little games. So he took pictures of me from Facebook, edited them to look like nudes and sent them to my boyfriend. By the way, despite my boyfriend knowing that I would never do something like that, as I had told him myself, he decided to accuse me of having taken them anyway. A casual glance through Facebook would have told him that the nudes were edited, but he wasn't exactly the most supportive boyfriend ever. He threatened to release them if my boyfriend didn't answer really invasive questions about his and my sex life, sexual habits, etc. At this point I went to the police and filed a report. My boyfriend got really freaked out when that happened and refused to be involved in the investigation. I was told to send a cease and desist message, and if he continued to harass me, the police department would file a subpoena to get information from the app he was going through to create the phone numbers he texted from. After doing that I didn't hear anything for a while. In the meantime, my boyfriend and I broke up for various reasons, and since then I've received a couple more messages from him. I haven't replied or gone to the police because I really just want this whole situation to go away. And even though those nudes were never actually released, I'm still living in fear that one morning I'll wake up and see them on the internet as revenge on someone who isn't even in my life anymore. So, I'm pretty sure it was your BF playing some twisted game. LOL. I received revenge P one time. Topless pics of a friend that I hadn't seen in a while. It was a little awkward messaging her to tell her, but I figured she would want to stop it. I think it was a continuing problem with some guy she had dated briefly, and it was incredibly hard to do anything about because he kept making new accounts. He would basically FB message anyone that was on her friends list. I felt terrible even having seen something that she definitely didn't want public. My friend's ex cheated on him in high school, and the guy took videos and pics and started sending them to my friend along with a bunch of crap talk, trying to get him to break up with the girl. He also was sending them to other guys in my school, I am pretty sure. But she was underage at the time, so he saved the stuff and tried to get the cops involved, but they said it was just a lover's quarrel and weren't going to do anything about it. This thread is not improving my opinion of cops. My roommate and I both work for a cell phone provider, help a lot of people, sell a lot of phones, and transfer a massive amount of customer content when they don't understand how cloud services work. He recently received a letter informing him that he is being sued by a customer he assisted several months ago. She claims he went through her photos, saved any nudes he found, and posted them online when he was transferring her content through iTunes. I know he didn't do it, and I feel bad for the poor girl. I imagine finding nudes of herself must be quite a shock, but that doesn't mean blame the cell phone guy that helped you. It most likely was an ex or somebody she sent them to. No point in losing his livelihood over some random chick that didn't even make enough of an impact on him to remember her name. I used to consensual send dong pics. Never had anything shared to my knowledge, and I couldn't give a crap if it was. I read about some kid killing himself as some scammer said he'd show his family friends him wanking off into a webcam. Seriously, it's just a dong and balls, and anyone with a dong and balls will wank off. Show anyone you like. It's really not pretty, and if they really want to look at me knocking one out, fair play to them. Abusive relationship. He had a hidden camera that would start recording once it detected motion. It's been 3 years. He has dozens of videos of me and other women. When I said I'd go to the police, his family, full of lawyers and related to a senator, told me they'd sue me back. I spoke to a lawyer and he said they were in their right to sue me if I pursued it. The family name dropped 2 former presidents and said they'd get involved as well. Nice to know the leaders of America are staying involved in sexual assault cases that has nothing to do with them. Emotionally exhausting. I really wish I had a better support system, because when I told anyone about it they'd tell me to get over it or tell me it isn't a big deal. The only evidence I have is the camera he used. I used to have the threatening messages, but I stupidly deleted them. I have texts of him apologizing for threatening me. That's it. I'm so sorry that happened to you. That whole situation is beyond fricked, and it's super depressing to have them be using powerful connections to continue the damage. My ex filmed us having sex without me knowing. He then threatened to put it online. I'm still terrified someone I know will stumble upon it one day. He said he deleted it, but then he'd turn around and say he didn't and he kept it for himself. I'll never know, which is a constant, nauseating thought in the back of my head. I know I may not be the gender you're looking for, as I'm a dude, but a bit more than 10 years ago I had an ex-girlfriend post naked pictures of me that weren't super flattering. I found out because she emailed me a link to them from a fake email account. I wasn't in fantastic shape a decade ago, so they could have been embarrassing, but she was in much better shape than I was. She posted a dozen or so pictures, but the ones she did included my face, but only included views of her. My response was to post the remaining hundreds of pictures of fat me fricking the crap out of her in all kinds of nasty ways on the same website. I mean, come on. A pudgy dude who was 300 pounds hammering the crap out of a 24-year-old hot chick who was a size 1. That isn't embarrassing. That is free drink earning. I realized that I couldn't get rid of the pictures no matter what I tried to do. So I just tried to change the narrative about them from "oh look a fat pudgy dude on the internet, Hannah so embarrassing," to one that was closer to "dang that dude is banging her without paying for it. Good for him." It hasn't really impacted me in any way, shape or form. I never did hear from her again after I replied to her email with a link to the rest of the photo session on the same website. She didn't really think that one through, I am guessing. I've had dudes message me asking if I wanted to see their XGF. When I ask if the XGF is cool with it, I'm usually met with some form of "who cares, she's a WSB." I know about that. I'm sure there's a bunch of scummy dudes with PM me accounts, but I'm not one. I like my boobs consensual. I believe that if a nude is sent to you, it's for you and not intended for others. I feel bad for those of you that have had your trust betrayed. I guess my ex posted revenge P of me on Instagram. My cousin sent me a message on Facebook when it happened saying she has screenshots and she'd send them to me. But I rarely get on Facebook, so I got the message about 6 months after. I never replied and I never asked about it. I don't really want to know what he posted. I've hardly thought about it, but I think if I did ask I'd be much more affected. I got really upset and freaked out a good deal when pics of me and my then boyfriend were posted on a revenge site. Revenge URL maybe? So long ago I can't recall. I contacted the admin of the site and the pics were removed. People from a discussion forum I visited at the time, where I suspect I initially encountered the troll who posted my pics, learned about it and some flamed me a little bit about various aspects of the pictures, which annoyed me further. Then much time passed and now it doesn't affect me at all. My main source of anxiety at the time was that a family member would somehow see them. Never include faces in nudes, kids. My boyfriend's email got hacked and some guy tried to blackmail me into sending more pictures and threatened to send the ones he already had to everyone at school and my family. I was 16 then, and kindly reminded him he was now in possession of child pornography. Didn't hear back from him right then, but I find myself on multiple amateur sites with my full name and address years later. Back then, I was so scared I deleted all the evidence, and now I wish I still had it, so I could go to the police when he will make another attempt. I am totally over it now and wouldn't feel ashamed when they come out. The only thing that is really hurting is the fact that it is probably someone I know and trust. My long-term ex-GF posted some dong pics of me on a few social media sites. Though she denied ever doing it, I know it was her. She also started some severely dirty smear campaigns about me during this time. Some people believed it was her, some didn't. Regardless, I must have a nice looking penis because I was approached by 3 different women, who were all very hot, after she unleashed the pics, and they all said they couldn't get over the dong's pics they saw. She found out I was getting all kinds of action and pretty much went through the roof. She tried getting me back afterwards because she couldn't stand the fact that I was getting all this attention. She was also a true narcissist. I actually thanked her for setting up all my dong dates. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.